One of the biggest ironies of having wealth is you don't have to look rich in order to be rich. True wealth is often invisible. But here are 4 reasons why looking poor can actually lead to higher life satisfaction and often greater financial reward. Number 1 is that it ends the cycle of overspending. Think of the 3 well-known social classes that we have around the world. We have the poor or lower class, we have the middle class, and then we have the upper class or the rich. And they all view money in a very different way. The lower class view money as a means of purchasing their necessities like food, water, paying for shelter or housing, the things that they really need to survive. The middle class view money as a means of adding comfort to their life, financing newer cars, adding bigger and bigger mortgages to increase the space in their homes, and buying nicer items to impress their guests. But the rich view money as a tool, a way of purchasing assets to increase their wealth and add more security to their life and to their portfolios. And they would then use these assets to pay for their liabilities such as their cars, their travel, their houses. So let's take a step back and think about your life for a second. The moment you go out and purchase a brand new item thanks to a bonus, a pay increase, a promotion at work, you get that single item, then after a week or 2 it loses its shine and you start thinking about the next purchase you can go and make. This is known as the Diderot effect, a well-known phenomenon that occurs when acquiring a new possession leads to a spiral of consumption, acquiring more new and new possessions. Think this new bag needs a new pair of shoes, which needs a new pair of sunglasses, which leads to a whole new outfit, and that £50 initial cost could lead to a purchase costing well over £1,000. A big factor of the motivation around this is others' perception of you. You may buy new items in order to fit in with the crowd or even stand out and show off. But as soon as a new trend comes in or one of your friends goes out and buys something even more fancy than you've got, you oftentimes find yourself spending just to keep up. Sticking in this constant cycle of overspending just to keep up is exhausting. And there needs to be a point where you exit that hamster wheel and start focus on you and not just what everybody else thinks. In this case, it's often better to adopt that rich mindset and focus those purchases more towards assets and building true wealth than it is to focus on trying to look rich and stay in trend. Think Warren Buffett, $100 million CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, still lives in the same house that he purchased 70 years ago for $31,000, rather than upgrading it because he just doesn't see the point. And if that man worth $100 billion can be modest, so can you. The second on that list is that looking poor allows you freedom. The freedom of always chasing that next purchase high. The freedom of not having that magnitude of payments looming over your head that should some economic downturn or a trouble at work or even an unexpected bill completely cripple you. For most, freedom would mean spending less time at work, traveling more, making decisions and using your time exactly when and where you want to. All things that are very hard to do when, like you and the other 80% of the UK and the US, are in debt. Reducing your spending on unnecessary items is going to push you closer and closer to that goal of financial freedom. A lot of purchases are just a way of bringing temporary pleasure and that are pushing you further and further away from that goal of getting your freedom. If you look around your house right now, you probably have everything in there that you need to be happy. You most likely have a roof over your head, shoes on your feet, means to get around and travel. One thing you probably don't need is more stuff, or more expensive stuff. I'd implore you to, after this video, take a look at your bank account and look how much money you've spent on unnecessary things over the last 8 months of this year. Use that figure to motivate you towards a path of spending less in the future and get closer to that goal of freedom that you really, really want. It is literally scientifically proven that freedom allows people to build better and more fulfilling lives, and it is essential for human development. So if that sounds like something you don't want to achieve, then I definitely suggest taking on more consumer debt and buying more unnecessary items. The third reason why looking poor is important is because it reduces pressure and increases your chance of getting new opportunities. Modern day life is complicated enough without having to worry about financial pressure. An article on CNBC says that 90% of Americans are currently stressed about money, with over 40% wishing they could have a completely fresh start when it comes to their finances. How worrying is that? When having a constant stress battle with money, how is anybody meant to focus on growth when the main focus right now is just trying not to sink? With the average salary in the US right now being around $64,000 or roughly $4,500 after taxes, you'd think that consumer debt or monthly payments off of this would be fairly low. Well, they're actually around 27% of Americans' paychecks right now at $1,225 per month. And that's not including other bills like food, water, travel, petrol or diesel for cars, which would probably double or even triple that number in some cases, meaning that people are almost living completely paycheck to paycheck, yet keep going out and buying more and more new items that they just don't need. With such a large amount of debt, it is often safer to think in a scarcity mindset than it would be in an abundance mindset. Sheltering that remaining cash that you do have with your life and not putting it to work to generate more and more money for you, rather than thinking in that abundance mindset, which you probably would if you had a lot more disposable income just laying around every single month. As taking more of a gamble at that point poses a lot less financial risk to you when you have a lot of money to fall back on. Having this scarcity mindset doesn't allow you to invest in things like assets, real estate, doesn't allow you to invest in yourself, generate new high income skills, or even oftentimes allow you to upfront cash for a side hustle, which according to Finder right now is netting the average Brit around £900 per month. So think about the opportunity cost here of looking poor. That extra £900 per month generated if invested into the S&P 500, which is 8% per year, roughly return on investment, over a 20-year period. So even if you start at 40 years old, you'd have over £500,000 saved up by the time you want to retire in just 20 years. So just change those decisions now. The fourth and final reason to looking poor is that it's going to improve your relationships massively. It's very common to think that as your income grows and you become more and more wealthy, the amount of friends you have, the relationships you have are going to be more substantial, better, more exciting. But with this new found friendship group, how do you determine who are there as genuine friends? It's the same for somebody that just wins the lottery one day. They might seem incredibly lucky, but imagine the amount of people that are going to be coming to them, old friends, old relationships, family that they don't really speak to, asking for money, coming to them with new business ideas, all looking for a piece of your pie. So advertising how rich you are and how wealthy you now are, even if you haven't won the lottery, is probably going to do the exact same thing and attract the unwanted negative people. Look at most billionaires out there. If you didn't know their face and you just saw them walking along the street, you'd be completely unfazed as to who they are, based purely off of how they're dressing. Because a lot of the time these people don't want to draw attention to themselves. They'd rather fly under the radar and prefer to dress comfy rather than eccentric. A study by Forbes suggests that a lot of rich people struggle to find relationships and meaningful relationships because of the lifestyle that they lead. With psychology studies saying that families have worse relationships depending on how large their size of the house is and have less meaningful connections. And couples are focusing less on their relationship themselves and more on purchasing and buying new items. And APA is suggesting that around 55% of American households right now say that money is a major source of conflict. Studies even show that looking more wealthy walking into a store can oftentimes leave you with spending more money for the exact same thing as somebody else who came in looking normal. So maybe it's time to ditch the suits and start dressing a little bit more poor. There are 4 main reasons why looking poor can lead to greater happiness and greater rewards in life. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, why don't you check out this video I did on the #1 wealth killer. And as always, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you for a new video next week.